My name is Diego Saavedra, and I am in Section 4Y, Math 12, and I will be presenting on the Pareto Principle. So, the Pareto Principle is also known as the 80-20 rule that states that 80% of consequences are a result of 20% of the causes. A common example that I found when I was kind of researching the topic was that 80% of sales in a given business are from 20% of the customers, which kind of says that this smallish subset of your customers contribute to most of your sales in your company. And it is more of an observation than an actual law because it doesn't always follow 80-20 exactly. Sometimes it's more or less on either side. And it can be also interpreted as 20% of the work leads to 80% of the results. So, and this is kind of an example of that, where this sketch is 20% of the car, and this would be 100% of the completed car, but having 5 of these is more valuable, and it takes the same amount of time as drawing 1 of these, because you can draw 5 frames of it and get the idea across several ideas of different cars instead of having 1 completed one. So this is Vilfredo Pareto. He's an Italian economist, sociologist, engineer, and philosopher from the early 20th century. And he noticed in his own garden that 20% of his pea plants produced 80% of the pea pods that he had. And then he found a very similar distribution in the wealth and land distribution in Italy, where 80% of the land and wealth were owned by the 20% richest people in Italy. So this is the math part, the math, how the shape looks. It is a power shape distribution, and for it to be 80-20 exactly, alpha has to have a value of about 1.16, which would be between this green and this blue curve. And the Pareto distribution is an improper integral, so it never fully touches the x-axis. It will approach 0 on the y-axis infinitely as x increases. And kind of in like regular people terms, I guess, you could say that as the farther it goes off the x-axis, the less probable it will be that it will occur, or that something will happen, or will be a cause. Another interesting thing that I found was that the American Institute of Physics found that the Pareto principle, following the central limit theorem, is not 80-20. It actually follows closer a split of 74-26, where 74% of the consequences follow 26%, are caused by 26% of the causes, which I thought was interesting. So the importance of the Pareto principle in real life is that it shows up across several fields, from physics, biology, to economics, business, and even in everyday life. So in everyday life, an example would be if hoodies make up 20% of your clothes, but it's 80% of what you wear. And it is commonly applied in business practices. So like 80% of complaints would come from 20% of customers, so that would apply to like HR things in a business. Or if you want to evaluate the productivity of your workers, it's been seen that 80% of work productivity comes from 20% of the workers in an office setting, for example. So with the Pareto principle, it does a very, very good job. Like, it shows up a lot when you're looking at wealth inequality in the world and also in the United States. So right here, I wanted to put a Lorenz curve, which in economics, you kind of use it to show wealth distribution. So a perfect wealth distribution, so perfect equality, would be a straight line on that is 45 degrees. And the more it sags, so like this curve right here, the more uneven it is, the less there is of even distribution. And over time, since the 1900s, this curve has actually sagged more and more in the United States. So the further it sags, the more inequality there is. And because it is a power distribution, in real terms, it would kind of be saying that the top 1% of the 1% have like they are just as far apart as the top 1% is from everybody else. So the farther you go up, the bigger the in distribution gets. And as you can see in this one, it is heavily skewed right. So when you're looking at averages, so when you're looking at wealth distribution average, it is not reflective of the average American or the average person in the world, because it's skewed to the heavier side. So a proper way of measuring wealth, like what the real American would be, what an everyday American would be, is to look at the median. And the bad thing about the wealth distribution getting worse is that as the average can go up, but the median can stagnate or even decline. So people can manipulate those numbers to give like false narratives of what an everyday American is doing. Yeah, so as more wealth gets concentrated into like the smaller elite, the everyday American loses, and that is happening. So in conclusion, the Pareto principle is pretty much kind of saying that the universe and a lot of different firms, a lot of different fields have an uneven distribution, and it shows up a lot in economics and business studies. Thank you.